So let us come on the contract on the basis of validity. Validity. It can be again categorized in 6 groups. Even my line is not that straight. 6 group. The first one is valid contract. On the guys, we are talking about contract on the basis of validity. So the first one is valid contract. Valid contract. The second one, what is the second one? Void ab initio. Void ab initio. The third category is void. Fourth category is your voidable. Fourth category is your voidable. Fifth one is your illegal contracts. And the last one is your unenforceable contract. Unenforceable contracts. Illegal contracts, voidable contracts. So, how many kinds we have seen? On the basis of validity, we can describe the contract into 6 groups. First one is valid contract, second one is void ab initio, third one is void contract, fourth one is voidable contract, fifth one is illegal contract, and the last one is unenforceable contract. Let us have a look to the first one, valid contract. Valid contract, obviously guys, there is nothing, the contract which is enforceable by law. Obviously the one which is enforceable by law is going to be a valid one. Court is not going to enforce a contract which is either void or voidable or illegal or unenforceable. So, Section 10 will be talking about the valid contract. Section 10 will tell about few valid elements, essential elements so as to make a contract valid. That I have dedicated an entire module, obviously the next one, the third module, to this valid contract, essential elements of a valid contract. So we won't deal in details, and it's very clear also that all the contracts which are enforceable by law is valid contract, to which section 10 is dealing. Okay, we are done with this. Next one, void ab initio. What do you understand with the term ab initio? Ab initio is something from very beginning. No scope of validity. The moment it was constituted, the moment that agreement was entered into, that was void from the very beginning, from the very starting. The law declares it to be void ab initio, and it's quite different from the term void. So I have taken the two category differently because they are actually different. So a contract, which is the contract void ab initio? A contract with minor or an unsound mind person. Unsound mind person. And lunatics and so on. The list is long. So contract is not enforceable with a minor. So even when you enter into a contract with minor, that is void ab initio and that is not enforceable. This is also we will see in our fourth module in details. So void ab initio, that is void from very beginning. Now what is this void? What is the difference between void and void ab initio? Void contract is something which was valid when entered into. When the contract was created, that was valid, but later on it became void. I am using the term became void because there came such circumstances, such situation came which dragged the contract from validity to the void category. Example, suppose I made a contract with a farmer for supply of 50 kgs of rice That is not a very big quantity as such to be supplied by a farmer, but still just take an example that I have agreed upon with a farmer in my village, hometown, to deliver me 50 kg of rice, and suppose heavy rain breaks out and the grain, the rice of that farmer is destroyed completely. Now what happens? Can I enforce the performance from the farmer? Can I drag him to court? No, the contract becomes void. What? The contract becomes void. The contract was exactly valid when I and farmer entered into. The time it was entered, that was valid, but the rain has turned it to be a void one. Had not been the rain, there had been a supply of the 50 kg of rice from the farmer to me. It had been a purely valid contract, but it became void. So there is a difference between void and void ab initio and void. Void becomes void, and this is void from very starting. Then example is of the farmer one I have given. Now what is this voidable contract? Voidable. What it says? If you see this term, you can break it into two. Voidable. Something which is able to be made void. That is not void actually. The voidable contracts are such which are enforceable at the option of one party but not enforceable at the option of other. What says? If the other party whose consent has been taken either due to fraud, mistake, coercion, if consent was not free, he can revoke, he can withdraw from that contract, he can go to court and get it declared void. But unless and guys, note one thing very important, that unless and until if you don't go to court to get it revoked or to get it declared void, that remains valid. And you also have to approach to the court within a reasonable time period. It's not that you slept, okay, the contract was not, I'll go someday to court. No, you have to approach to the court to get it declared. If you are the aggrieved one, you don't like the contract for you was not free, then just please go to the court. You're required to go to the court within a reasonable time. If you don't approach the court, then you are not allowed. The contract remains valid unless declared void. So what is the reasonable time? That's obviously court to decide and depends on the circumstances of each case. So it's upon the other party who does not like to keep the contract, either to keep the contract or to get it declared void. So it's optional, the something which is able to be declared void. And then the next category is illegal contract. Illegal. Obviously, the one which is not legal. And what is not legal? The contracts where the consideration is either illegal or the object or purpose of contract is either illegal. Two things. One is consideration and the other one is consideration and the other one is purpose. Purpose of contract is unlawful. Consideration. What's that consideration? Suppose one is Mr. X and one is Mr. Y. Let me clear the board. One is, we are talking what? Illegal contracts. Okay? Illegal. That is a part of contract on the basis of validity. Illegal contracts. What are those? First part is, I'm taking consideration. Unlawful. Unlawful. What is unlawful is? Your consideration. What's that? One Mr. X ask Mr. Y that I will give you rupees 50,000. I'll give you rupees 50,000. 1,000. And what Mr. Y says? In return, I will give you a government job. I'll give you a place in government job. Is that allowed? Is that possible? What's that? It's a bribe for a government job, which no one has right to give unless and until you are not on merit. So such kind of consideration is unlawful. Even if you pay some amount of money to murder some person, or to defame that particular person, that those all consideration is unlawful. So this is not allowed. Law put it a big cross. And then the next one is where what? Where the purpose of contract is unlawful. Purpose unlawful, for which the contract is entered, the very subject, the very essence of the contract is unlawful. Suppose Mr. Y comes to Mr. X and takes his house on rent for the purpose of what? For the purpose of gambling. Okay. So is gambling a legal purpose? No, that is an unlawful purpose. The object of the contract is very unlawful. So this is not allowed. Illegal contracts are what? These are also void. Illegal contracts are also void. So why, if this is also void, why these illegal contracts are kept under separate head? Separate head because even though these are those previous agreements were also void, which becomes void, those are not punishable. Those are not punishable, but these illegal contracts are punishable. And even all other agreements which are collateral to this illegal contracts are also punishable, and they are declared void. If anything is done in furtherance or to achieve the motive of this illegal contract, those collateral contracts are also stuck, they are void, and they are punishable. So this is not allowed, this is void and punishable as well. So this was all about illegal contracts. And the last category of the contract on the basis of validity is your unenforceable contract. What's that? Unenforceable contract. Is there any difference? You find any difference between illegal and unenforceable? Obviously, which is illegal, that is not enforceable, but there are few things more. On the basis of validity, last category is unenforceable contract. Unenforceable contract. What are these unenforceable contract? The contract which are good in substance but have technical defects. What is that? A contract which is good in substance, that is not invalid or illegal, that is not void, but due to some technical defects that cannot be enforceable, that cannot be brought to court. What are those? That are rejected by the court, in fact. What are those? Example, an undated check. Okay. If a check is not duly dated, that has a technical defect and it becomes unenforceable. But that if that particular defect is removed, if you put a proper date on that check, that becomes enforceable. So unenforceable contract has a capacity of being made enforceable within a stipulated time. And also, if a sale deed which law requires to be properly stamped and registered, and if it's not duly stamped or registered, that is a technical defect, and that can make a contract unenforceable. So if it's later on, if it's duly stamped or registered, brought to court with duly stamped or registered, it can be made enforceable again. So this was, guys, all about the 6th category of contract on the basis of validity. And the last category is your performance contract on the basis of performance. That is pretty short, it won't take so long, it's very simple, no discussion required as such. Performance. these on the basis of performance, there are only two: executed contract and executory contract. Executed and executory. What is executed contract? Executed contract is something which is very done. It's an ended contract. It's a finished contract. It's a done contract. I'm using same terms in different, same meaning in different terms, okay? So guys, when we talk about performance, before I say executed, I would tell you the performance. When we enter a contract, there are two separate things. One is your constitution, and the other one is your constitution, okay, and the other one is your performance. When you enter into a contract, when you form a contract, actually only half of your job is done. What? Only half of your job is done. The next part of your job will be done only when the performance is done, only when the contract is executed. So when the contract is executed, when it is done, when it is complete, that is called executed contract. When it is properly discharged, now this is the right word, when it is properly discharged by both the parties, guys, not one, okay, by both the parties, obviously there's an end to the contract. If obviously when both the parties have performed their duties, they have done their part of obligation, the contract is done, that is over. Now next comes the executory contract. What is that? Executory contract is your future contract, future consideration. What is that? I go to a showroom and book a car for me, but the delivery is to be made in the next month, and obviously the payment as well from my side will go in next month only. What is it? The date on which I made an agreement with the showroom, the car owner, with the showroom, the manager, to have a car particularly of my choice in model and color, everything, that is on that particular date on which it's agreed, just agreed, that is an executory contract, and it will become executed after 1 month when I'll receive my car and I'll make the payment. So this is what about the executed and executory contract. So guys, this was a list of practical contracts we have gone through, which more often we enter. And now, so these all contracts are specific kind of contract. And so what what is being done by the Act under Section 2H? Section 2H has made an attempt to satisfy the urge to define this particular term contract. Section 2H. Now we have seen all the theoretical definitions, different viewpoints of all the philosophers, historians and jurists. We have also seen practically entered contracts in our day-to-day life, whether be it a tacit or a quasi or a void or a executed or executory, any. So we have seen all those, and I think it was quite necessary to go through the meaning and definition of all those terms. Now finally, since we are done with all those, now let us sum this module with Section 2H. Finally, what it says? Yes, everybody knows what Section 2H says. It says an agreement enforceable by law is a contract. What Section 2H says? An agreement enforceable by law. An agreement enforceable by law. It's a very simple and obvious meaning. It's a very simple and obvious meaning. So if we break this simple, even though this 2 or 3 term definition, if we just break it into parts, we can have what the contract is. A contract, for a contract, It requires two things. What that? It has to be an agreement, universally acknowledged term. Two things we have seen in all the definitions, in all the practical contracts, different kinds of contract, that two things are common in all kind of contracts: agreement and enforceability. Enforceability. What is this agreement? Again, agreement has to be what? Obviously, agreement, you can't enter into contract with yourself. It cannot be unilateral one. It has to be a bilateral one. Bilateral. Okay? Bilateral. Second thing, consensus ad idem. What is this consensus? Consensus ad idem. And the third one, this is consideration, obviously. This is consideration. Now just take all these three. Now again, if you see bilateral, I said it cannot be unilateral. It means there has to be two or more parties. So what will be the role of two or more parties? Will both offer and offer only? Yeah, will both accept only? Obviously not. Unless and until there is no offer, you can't accept it, and unless and until there is no acceptance, you can't have a contract. So the two things are very necessary: offer and acceptance. Two things are very necessary, that is offer and acceptance. Offer is defined where? In section 2A. Where it is defined? Section 2A. Guys, in previous module we have seen 2B, E and H. Here we are saying 2A, and acceptance is also defined in 2B. 2B also defines one more term. Can you tell me? Yes, that is your promise. Obviously, promise is what? An accepted offer or an accepted proposal. So ultimately what makes a promise? That is acceptance. So acceptance as well as promise, both the terms are defined under section 2B only. So offer and acceptance are very necessary to be in bilateral agreement. The next come consensus ad idem. What is this consensus ad idem? Consensus ad idem is meeting of mind. Agreeing, two parties agreeing on the same thing in the same sense. Suppose I said I have two houses, okay? I have two houses, and I just said to my neighbor that I want to sell my house. And I'm not certain, I didn't mention as to which house I'm talking about. Now the person, my neighbor, is thinking about my house in lane A, and I am just thinking to sell my house in lane B. Okay. Now we both are agreeing for the sale of the house, and between me and my neighbor, obviously the parties are same, but the object is not same. Our mind is not agreeing. We don't have a consensus ad idem. We don't have a meeting of mind. He's thinking of something else. He has a different object in his mind, and I have a different object in my mind. So there is no consensus ad idem. There is no agreement. There has to be necessarily a meeting of mind. Then the next thing is consideration. Guys, consideration also is very, very important. There's a very famous and known rule: there is no consideration, no contract. Obviously, this rule is not very absolute. It has few exceptions as well. But right now, we will not deal in this module. Something is to be left to be discussed for the next module, and consideration is defined under section 2D, and it has to be read along with section 25 as well. Section 25 as well. Enforceability. What is this enforceability? Enforceability is what? Rights and obligation. Defined. Rights and obligation defined, and it has to be brought to court. And the most on top of it, there has to be a intention to have a legal relation. Intention to have a legal relation. Enforceability, ability of something to be enforced. So enforceability, we have intention to enter, to have a legal relation, as we have seen in domestic agreement, in religious agreement, and in social agreements. They were not enforceable. Why? Because there was no intention of the parties to have a legal relation. And this is what the term, very important, which is the defining criteria, which is the actual defining line, whether it's a contract or an agreement. And we have seen for agreement also, there is ultimately what is necessary is your offer and acceptance, and offer is the starting point. Obviously, without offer there cannot be any acceptance, there cannot be any agreement, there cannot be any promise, there cannot be any agreement, and there can be no contract. So what is all this is not enough, this is nothing, this is not enough about offer and acceptance for a consideration. We have a lot more to be discussed, which we will do in details in the next module. Till then, goodbye and thank you.